Hello my dear friends, and welcome to my channel. My name is Barbara, and today we're going to be looking at moon in the 8th house synastry. So this video is for you if you are experiencing this synastry with another individual. Maybe your moon is in their 8th house, maybe their moon is in your 8th house, or maybe you're a cross watcher, and if so, welcome as well. So basically, synastry is something that takes place where you have these energies coming together between two individuals. The 8th house overall does deal with sex, death, rebirth, joint finances, taxes, and the occult. It's going to be the merging of energies. The 8th house energy, a lot of the time, whether you feel it within a person or you're feeling within synastry, it kind of feels like a vortex that is energetically pulling you in. The moon in our natal charts is going to be basically that emotional part of ourselves. Sometimes it could even be the hidden part of ourselves, basically something that we might not necessarily express outwardly when we first meet people. Maybe it's going to take a while to get to know someone, and then that moon part is going to come out and going to come through. When we do have this synastry taking place between two people, the moon person could feel very attracted to or drawn to the 8th house person. The 8th house person is energetically pulling them in. Now, what's important to note when we do talk about synastry overall is, first of all, you want to look at what's going on in your natal chart. You want to look at what's going on in the other person's natal chart. You also want to look at and see how evolved are the two people. Are they used to these types of energies already? Because let's say you're an 8th house person, or the other person is an 8th house person, or maybe you have a lot of Pluto aspects taking place, or maybe you have a lot of, let's say, Scorpio energy in your chart. You could be used to this energy already, so it could be something that is operating in harmony within you, is basically what that is. Because that's the thing with synastry, you want to see how evolved are the two people as well, because sometimes you have people who have these energies in their natal charts and they're not necessarily evolved or self-aware, and the energy comes up in synastry, and all these things now come to the surface to be looked at and cleared and basically healed and transmuted. So basically, the 8th house person is now pulling the moon person in. This can be a very, very intimate dynamic between the two individuals. It depends, again though, because let's say the moon person is used to everything being light and lighthearted, while when it comes to the contact with the 8th house person, it might not necessarily be that way so much anymore. They could feel very drawn to this person. There could be a lot of sexual energy taking place between the two people. It could turn into a very intimate connection. Maybe the moon person reveals certain aspects of themselves to the 8th house person that they have never necessarily revealed to anybody else before, and then in doing so, they feel even more connected to the 8th house person. Now, here's the thing. What happens with these energies is basically that 8th house energy, and even when there's a lot of sexual energy present between two people, sexual energy is healing energy. This is what's important to understand. Now, it depends what's going on with the two people. Maybe they got intimate right away and now everything came to the surface, or maybe there's just a lot of sexual tension between the two people taking place, this huge attraction, this huge magnetic pull. Well, now the sexual energy is going to bring to the surface whatever is chilling at the base of the spine. Depends how evolved the two people are. If they're both evolved and they don't necessarily have maybe too many shadow traits to work on, it might not feel as, let's say, explosive or intense, or like, oh my gosh, I've never experienced this before. But it's like, if you're not there, and it's like maybe this is one of the first times you're, let's say, experiencing an 8th house contact with an individual, and let's say you don't have this taking place in your own natal chart, well, in that case, you could feel very drawn. You could be kind of like, what is going on here? I have never met anybody like this before. This person really understands me. And here's the thing, energy is interchangeable. So the 8th house person in this situation could also feel very comfortable to reveal a lot of their, let's say, shadow self to the moon person. They might feel very much nurtured by the moon person, or very much comfortable in the moon person's presence to bring all these things to the surface, these aspects of themselves that they don't necessarily show the world, or maybe anybody. Maybe they've never shown these aspects of themselves before to anybody. And in this contact, the moon in the 8th house, it could feel very comfortable to bring these things to the surface. Now, it depends, again, what's going on in both of these people's natal charts, because this energy can go downhill very quick and very fast. Because the thing is, the moon person, what happens with them is, like, again, maybe they've never experienced this from anybody before, this energy, this pull, this acceptance energy, or just like the ability to fully express their emotions. And maybe this is the first time, for example, that is taking place for them. They could feel very possessive of the 8th house person. This is what I mean. All the things that are at the base of the spine could come up in this type of relationship. Now, it's important to understand, anytime there are any sort of 8th house types of synastry things taking place, or anything to do really with the 8th house Pluto dynamics, Pluto synastry with another person, whether it's in your own natal chart, whether it is in a transit that's taking place for you, or whether it is in a synastry type of situation, basically what this energy is doing is it is breaking down the ego, the way that you thought something once was, and it is helping you go through some form of change and transformation, is really what it is here. So the 8th house person could be assisting the moon person in some form of emotional transformation. Anything that is taking place that maybe that moon person has never had ignited within them before, but it's still within them because it is still coming to the surface. Anything to do with jealousy, manipulation, possessiveness, trying to hold on to the person for dear life, anything even to do with like obsession aggression. And if it does go into the extreme version of this energy in the shadow, trigger warning, it is going to be something to do with maybe like explosiveness, explosive nature, aggression. It could be anything to do with like verbal things or even just like abuse if it really goes to that extreme, because it's that moon energy, it's the emotional energy, and it's like the 8th house energy overall when it is evolved within an individual. This energy does have a lot of emotional control, but it's like it takes a while to get there is basically what it is, to get to that point of emotional control. So it's not always going to be the moon person. It could be the 8th house person as well, because the energy is interchangeable between the two people. The 8th house person could feel very comfortable to have their own shadows come to the surface around the moon person as well, where they kind of feel like no matter what I express, the moon person is still going to be there. There's a level of comfort basically between the two people, especially if they're working on the shadow traits and so on and so forth. So it depends what's going on again within the two people and within their natal charts, because let's say you guys do work through all of these emotions, or maybe you guys were already a little bit more evolved, so it doesn't go into the extreme shadow of this energy. This could be a very deep and intimate connection, but it could take a while to get there. And it depends, because sometimes, let's say like the 8th house person doesn't notice, for example, that the moon person is being very possessive of them. Maybe for the 8th house person, it could be something that is taking place for the first time as well. There are going to be indications of possessive energy coming from the moon person, because again, it's the moon that's going into the 8th house. So it's a very, very sensitive part of the self of the human overall that's going into the 8th house now. So it's like when this does turn into an intimate dynamic, maybe finally the two people have fully revealed their true selves to each other, it's going to be challenging to let each other go, is basically what that is in these types of dynamics, because I feel like this person gets you, this person understands you. And it doesn't just have to be in a romantic or an intimate relationship, by the way. Like a lot of the time I find that people do tend to search Synastry videos or stumble upon Synastry videos because they are in some sort of, let's say, romantic or intimate situation where there is a lot of this sexual energy present. This dynamic could even be, let's say, in a family, for example. Like you could see these 8th house energies taking place within family dynamics as well, because when you think about it in terms of a family dynamic, that is usually the environment where you have the most amount of shadows come to the surface. And let's say you spend a lot of time together and you all live in the same house, like all of these things are really going to come to the surface. So a lot of the shadow work could be taking place, let's say, within a family dynamic as well, because the 8th house does tend to deal with breaking down the ego for another individual. Let's say the moon person has a lot of unresolved emotions, or maybe they haven't emotionally matured, or they don't have emotional control or something of that sort. The 8th house person, let's say in this dynamic, the moon person is the parent and then the 8th house person is the child. Well, the 8th house person, which is the child in this dynamic, could maybe trigger the parent to have a lot of these unresolved emotions come to the surface. They could really trigger their ego, for example. Although overall, I do find that when people have children, the children usually are a breakdown of the parent's ego overall. But that's a different video for a different day. So it could be this that's taking place as well. For example, it could be something of the sort where like the 8th house child is bringing a lot of shadows to the surface, maybe for the moon parent, for example. So it doesn't just have to be a romantic or an intimate dynamic. When we look at Synastry, it could be these types of dynamics as well. It could be within friendships as well. For example, it could be like a very close, intimate friendship, or there could be a lot of this possessiveness taking place in this friendship, because again, maybe you finally feel like you met someone who gets you on that mind, body, spirit level, which is rare. It really is rare. And the 8th house Plutonian and Scorpio people are going to understand that, because they do live that energy day in and day out. You don't have those energies taking place in your natal chart, and this is taking place for the first time ever. It is going to feel overwhelming, intense, huge pull, magnetic attraction. You feel like you can't get away from this person is basically what it is. It's very karmic in this sense as well, because it's a lot of this push-pull energy where it's like the energy is being neutralized within the self. And eventually, if you guys are, let's say, in a relationship and you're able to neutralize this energy amongst each other, well, in that case, you guys can have a very deep and intimate relationship and a very close bond. If you're not able to resolve this, it could be very toxic. For example, it could even be like a trauma bonded type of relationship as well, with the moon in the 8th house, like really, really shadowy types of energies where you feel like you can't leave this person for whatever reason. So if you do feel like you're in an intense relationship like that, definitely seek out help and see how you can potentially leave something like that. But that's that 8th house energy is basically what that is. So again, it doesn't just have to be romantic or intimate. It can be in your friendships. It can be in families. You will see this because sometimes that 8th house could also be clearing through generational things, generational situations, maybe generational patterns and behaviors could be being cleared through this type of dynamic on that emotional level, because it is the moon. Also, you could have this, let's say, in a business relationship or like at the workplace as well, where it's like 8th house deals with power and control, for example. So it's like, let's say it is a platonic relationship. Well, that 8th house either pulls in or it repels is basically what that is, because it does deal with power and control. You could encounter this, let's say, with a manager or a boss or maybe another colleague or something of that sort. So that's the thing with Synastry. It's going to manifest in a lot of different ways because it is the 8th house, and the 8th house does deal with sexual energy. It doesn't just always have to be sexual attraction between the two people. It could just be this pull to the other person. But I will let you guys know, okay, let's say you have experienced this, maybe you've cleared through a lot of these energies for yourself. If you feel this energy that's kind of pulling you in, kind of like this vortex, a lot of the time this vortex vortex energy. Could be something shadowy that's taking place, and maybe you don't have to do any more inner work, and maybe you've mastered a lot of your shadows. It's like at that point in time, you'll need the discernment to not engage with that person. Because the thing is like a lot of the time people end up in these situations and they're not even aware what's going on and why it's taking place. But it's like at the same time, like you don't have to end up in a situation where there's chaos if you are aware. Do you know what I mean? So these situations can go into like the dark energy very quickly and a lot of shadow behavior. And it's like at the end of the day, you don't have to be the reason for someone's projections. Like that's the most unhealed version of this energy, is like where one of the people is projecting everything onto the other person because there is that ego breakdown that's taking place. And a lot of the time when an ego breakdown is taking place, well, in that particular case, the person might have not evolved to the point where they have the awareness that it has nothing to do with the other person, for example, that it's everything to do with their own stuff. So there could be a lot of projections taking place. So it's like if you guys have evolved and you have this taking place and you sense in the other person that they're not evolved and that it could go into this direction, probably best to just cut off the dynamic early on, because it could be a very, very shadowy dynamic when it is in the shadow. It is really, really what that is. But when it's in the divine version, it could be very divine. It could be very intimate, a deep bond, feeling like you finally met someone who understands you on that mind, body, spirit level. So it depends. How evolved are the two people? What's going on with their shadows? How much shadow work has taken place? How much are the people involved willing to do shadow work? It could be this as well, because sometimes like people have shadow work to do, but like they're willing to do the shadow work as well. So it's case by case. But overall, this is the idea basically with the moon in the 8th house energy. Could bring up shadow traits and shadow energies and things to the surface that need to be cleared, healed, and transmuted. Or it could also potentially be a very intimate and close bond and dynamic, depending on where both people are in terms of their own evolutionary journey. So with all that being said, I'm going to wrap up this video here on moon in the 8th house synastry. I do hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please do like, share, and subscribe. And I hope you all have a beautiful rest of the day.